Now, this plant is a miraculous plant because it is still following Africans wherever we are. We have some of these plants, most parts in the Caribbean. We have some at Virginia, Jamestown. We have some at Alabama. And I always tell my brothers and sisters, this plant saved our lives and it's still following us. So whenever you see this plant somewhere in the state, it's only telling you one thing. That thing that is saying to us is like this, Sankofa. Go back to your roots. Because you should know that this plant saved you from being captured. So whenever you see this plant, wherever you are, say to your brother and sister, it's time to return to my roots. So I thank you all for returning to your roots. So you welcome to the central region of Ghana, Assin Manso slave market to be precise. My name is Kofi because I'm a Friday male born. Roland is my slave name. Yes, I'm a Friday male born and I'm going to be your tour guide. But before we start with the tour, let's observe a minute of silence for all our enslaved brothers and sisters who lost their lives during the trade. After which I will say, may their soul rest in perfect peace, and you all respond by saying, Ashe. Ashe. So please, can we observe a minute of silence for our ancestors? Thank you very much. As we all know, our brothers and sisters were hunted, they were captured, and they were treated as merchandise. We were shipped across the Atlantic Ocean to work on plantations in the Caribbean and the Americas. Assin Manso you see today was the greatest proof for the adoption of individuals, family, friends, relatives across the Atlantic Ocean to work on plantations. It was the biggest slave market during the transatlantic slave trade era, as documented by one British historian known as W.E. Ward in his book entitled The Short History of Ghana. Although there were some slave markets like the Piccolo slave market at the Upper East region of Ghana, Salaga market at the northern part of Ghana, Ketekashi slave markets and other slave markets as well, Assin Manso slave markets here in the central region of Ghana, and the Salaga markets at the northern part of Ghana played a major role during the transatlantic slave trade. Enslaved Africans were captured from Ghana and countries that share border with Ghana at the north. That is Burkina Faso, Mali, and some parts of Nigeria, and they were made to march in chains and shackles, barefooted and naked, to the Salaga market at the north. It was in the Salaga market that we had our first rest period. We were given just a few breaks to relax, and after that, we were again made to march in chains and shackles, barefooted and naked, to Assin Manso slave market here, which was 300 miles from the Salaga market. During that era, because we were marching through the forest belts of our country, a lot of our ancestors were exposed to many dangers while marching them from the north to the central part of Ghana. Some of them were bitten by snakes, others were attacked by wild animals, others suffered punishment and brutality from the slave raiders. Research has it that 40% of our brothers and sisters, while marching them from the north to Assin Manso here, lost their lives. One of their biggest challenges was at Tripopraso, crossing the Pra River. So when you're coming from Kumasi, there's this huge river that separates Kumasi and this community called the Pra River. It is one of our greatest challenges for crossing that river. Basically, it was the survivor and the fittest. Only the strongest survived. So those of our brothers and sisters who were weak and couldn't continue with the journey, they were dumped in the river to die. Now, in 2004, the government of Ghana and that of Netherlands embarked on the project called the Slave Route Project. All that we wanted to identify was the path that our enslaved Africans were made to use while marching them from the north to the central part of Ghana. And one of the places that was identified was the Mole National Park. The Mole National Park is one of our wildlife reserves that we have at the northern part of Ghana, which boasts of all wild animals you could think of, the lions, the leopard, every animal you could think of. We have some there. So currently, if you go to the Mole National Park, you are going to see those animals. So imagine our brothers and sisters walking through that thick forest with all these animals. That is why I said earlier that most of us were attacked by these animals. Now, when we were coming through the bushes, because the animals were feeding on us, the raiders have a way of pushing the animals back so that they don't attack us and them. And do you know what they did?
Put us first.
Yes. When they are walking and they find out that 2 or 3 or 4 of our brothers and sisters were weak and couldn't continue with the journey, we were brought out of our chains, we were tied around any big tree they find in the forest, left behind to perish. So, when the animals are also looking for something to feed on, they come into contact with our helpless ancestors and they feed on us. So they use us as bait to negotiate their way through the forest. So when they landed here at Assin Manso, this was a place that we were sorted out according to age and gender. Men separated from the boys, women, children, etc. And in determining our ages, a device called the speculum oris is put into our mouth, open our mouth, count our teeth, thereby forecasting our ages. That's bad here before being sold to the merchant. As if that is not enough, after selling us, we were again made to walk in chains and shackles, barefooted and half naked, to the Cape Coast and Elimina Castle, which is 31 miles and 35 miles from here respectively, because that was where the slave ship was being docked. Now, during that era, wherever we were captured, it was a march of no return. We're going from our roots and we're never coming back. So when we go through the dungeons of the castles, there is this door with the inscription, the door of no return. This door of no return is not there to serve the purpose of we Africans. It is there to serve the purpose of those people, not we Africans. Because they thought with the door of no return, we are never going to come back to tell the story as it is. They thought all the atrocities that they committed on us, we are not going to come back to tell the story as it is. They thought our culture and traditions as Africans would be cleansed forever. Basically, they wanted to clean all the African race in their setting. But now, we are conscious enough to know where we are coming from. We are conscious to know our motivators and our ancestors. We come to our roots as we love to return. So, we need to change that writings, that perception on the walls of the Cape Coast Castle from the door of no return to the door of no return that fits them to the door of return which fits us, because now I have my brothers and sisters coming back to their roots.
Yes.
But the big question is, then, how do we change that writings on the walls of the Cape Coast Castle from the door of no return to the door of return?
That's the second time a question's been asked, but
Yeah. That is why, as you can see, in our ancestral graveyard, we have the mortal remains of our 2 great ancestors, Madam Krista and Samuel Kazim. May their soul rest in perfect peace. Ashe. Madam Krista was part of the Maroons who was captured and landed up in Jamaica as enslaved African. But because she was a mother, she couldn't stand the pain, the atrocities, the maltreatment that was meted on one another. She couldn't see children crying for help. She couldn't see people calling for death to come their way. Because now most of us were scared to die. But during that era, we were calling for it to come to our aid. But even death was so scared of what was being perpetrated on us. So this lady, in her own way, she decided to starve herself to death. But during that era, because we were classified as an asset to the merchants, we were forced to feed. So by doing so, they chisel your teeth and they force you to feed. These are some of the punishments Madam Krista had to endure. But yet still, she stood on the ground and said, no, I'm not going to take in anything, until she lost her life. Africans are the ones with the highest of IQ. So I always tell my people, let's just ignore them. We shouldn't go to their limit for them to defeat us, because we know our worth as Africans.
Yes, brother. Yes.
Now, so their ministry, so the mortal remains of Madam Krista and Samuel Cousin was flown in from Jamaica and US respectively to the Kotoka International Airport in collaboration with their families and our Ministry of Tourism. Then, by boat through the Atlantic Ocean to the Cape Coast Castle, coming out from the door of no return, changing it to the door of return on the 31st day of July, 1998.
Yes.
Because it is assumed that all our brothers and sisters made their way through that door to the Caribbean and Americas. But none ever have returned through that same door to their roots. So with our Madam Krista and Samuel Cousin returning from that same door to their roots, just to usher our brothers and sisters in the diaspora that yes, it is now safe to come to your roots. It is now safe to come to your country because this is where you belong.
Yes.
So the same day, on the 31st of July, these two of our great ancestors, Madam Krista and Samuel Cousin, landed here at Assin, Manso. Assin is an Akan word, which means yes, sin, travelers, people that are just passing through. So research has it that 60% of people that from this community were some of our enslaved Africans who managed to escape. But because they didn't know how to return to where they were captured, they formed part of this community. So when these two of our ancestors landed here, we already had the connection. We already had the chemistry with them. It was a wonderful day. Everybody in this community were made to wear black. We had vigil for our ancestors. We mourned our ancestors. And the following day, which was the 1st of August, these two of our great ancestors, Madam Krista and Samuel Cousin, were buried here. So every 1st of August is when Ghana as a nation, we decided to celebrate our Emancipation Festival. Sometimes my brothers from the diaspora always ask me, Kofi, what do you understand by the word emancipation? I always tell them I always have my own way, because everything that I say should come from my heart. I always tell them it's the day that Africans from the diaspora and Africans everywhere, we come together to take stock from where we started as Africans, from where we are now as Africans, and where we want to be tomorrow as Africans. So together in one accord, we all strategize on how to make ourselves better and stronger again. Now, as you can see, we have portraits of freedom fighters, human rights activists. Most of them are coming from your hand. There is one thing that we observe. We thought most of our brothers from the diaspora feel this disconnection between you and I. There's this disconnection that you feel is happening, but it's not happening because these people are there to just brainwash us. All the ancestors that fought for you, for the abolishment of slavery, for the promotion of human rights, we see them as our ancestors. And whenever we are praying, whenever we are pouring libation, we acknowledge their names. So it is prudent and right to acknowledge these great ancestors on our ancestral roots. So that is why we have all these portraits to show this. Now, I'm going to take you to one beautiful plant. Most of us would also be captured as captives. I'm going to tell you some indigenous knowledge about that plant, and I will illustrate how it saved a lot of our lives. So if you wouldn't mind, can we please go to that beautiful plant that saved a lot of our lives? So this... Just touch it on. You seen before? Yes. I'll tell you everything about it. It's not something that you just have to see. You have to know something about this plant. This plant here is called the mimosa plant. The mimosa plant. And it has this indigenous knowledge attached to it that I told you earlier on. You see, during the time of slavery, most of our brothers and sisters did not want to be captured as captives. So we went hiding in caves and mountains so that we will not be captured. So at our hiding places, we grew a lot of these plants to surround wherever we were. So this plant informed our decision whether to come out or to stay indoors. Wow. So early morning, the elder of the clan will peep through the holes to see whether the plant is as open as we can see now. And sometimes when it closes, it takes like 30 minutes before it opens back again. So when you observe that the plant is as open as we can see now, which means it is safer out there, come out and do whatever you feel like doing before returning back to your roots. Also, when you wake up and find out that the plant is something like this, which means it is not safe. Which means it is not safe. These people are there wanted to capture us. So please don't come out and stay at your hiding place. So this plant saved a lot of our brothers during that era. Now, this plant is a miraculous plant because it is still following Africans wherever we are. We have some of these plants, most parts in the Caribbean. We have some at Virginia, Jamestown. We have some at Alabama. And I always tell my brothers and sisters, this plant saved our lives and it's still following us. So whenever you see this plant somewhere in the state, it's only telling you one thing. That thing that is saying to us is like this, Sankofa. Go back to your roots. Yes. Because you should know that this plant saved you from being captured. So whenever you see this plant, wherever you are, say to your brother and sister, it's time to return to my roots. Sometimes when our ancestors were going, they didn't know where they were going. They didn't know what is up to them, what they are going to experience. They didn't know anything. So they just have to sing to motivate themselves. Because that is why Africans, we love to sing. Because singing is what motivates we as Africans. So sometimes when we are going, I don't know where the spirit is. I don't know who is touched by something. But if you feel like bringing a song out, feel free, bring that song out. Let's sing together. Let's sing together. So we will take this opportunity to remember our ancestors for all that they've gone through. So I don't mind if you have a song, you can bring the song. Although I might not know how to sing, I'll try to sing along. Yes, as we go. Yes.
Way in the water, children, way in the water. In the water, God's gonna trouble the water. Come on and wade in the water. You gotta wade in the water, children. Wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, now you see those children all dressed up in white. God's gonna trouble the water. You know they must be the children of the Israelites. God's gonna trouble the water. Well, now you wanna wade in the water. Wade in the water.
Bamboo trees you see over here serves as camps for the widows. So when they bring their captives, they chain them around, waiting for them to take their last bath before selling them. Now at the slave camp, we don't sell enslaved Africans at the camp. But those people, they come to the camp, the big men, they come to the camp and choose the best of us before the rest will be taken to the market to be auctioned out. So those people will be here waiting to buy the best of our enslaved Africans. Now, this river you see over here is a very huge river. Sometimes when it rains, it's flat all the way here. You can't even get closer. Now, this river is two separate rivers. There are two separate rivers. They are not the same river. This one over there is called River Emisa. This one is called River Emisa. Which gets, yes, River Emisa. The flowing one is called River Emisa, which gets its source from the Pra River. The same river we were dumped into to die. This river gets its source from that same river. Then we have this river also to be Non-Consio, which literally means the slave river. This one. Our brothers and sisters were made to wash themselves in the Non-Consio, but not River Emisa, because with the Non-Consio it is always stagnant. Because they were scared that when they made us wash ourselves here, we might escape. So they made us wash ourselves in the stagnant water, still in chains and in shackles. The question is, how can you wash yourself while you are in chains and shackles? That is the job of the raiders. And by doing so, you see this bamboo trees over there, the smallest part of it, they catch it and they split it open and they use it to wash our enslaved captives. So after washing us, you find out that almost all of us have bruises all over our body with blood oozing out. They do that for a purpose. After that, with all the blood coming out, they bring us from the river to where we are all standing, and they make us go through vigorous exercises just to determine our strength. Because it is assumed that if all this blood can be coming out from us for us to undertake such an exercise, that makes us a stronger people. So after all those exercises, they clean all the blood from us and they smear us with palm oil and shea butter just for us to look attractive. In the olden days, there was this big baobab tree which was situated at where we have our first auction. So they take them to the baobab tree and they chain us around the baobab tree for our first auction. Basically, our brothers and sisters were bought with things that are not really important. It is not really important the thing that they bought us with. Things like, they bought us with things like used clothes, tobacco, whiskey, gunpowder, those petty things that they were. And I was reading a book on the transatlantic slave trade, and it's made this revelation which, when I knew of it, I cried this deep inside me. During that era, one horse goes for 15 strong enslaved Africans. So during that era, even animals were valuable than we Africans. And the same thing that they did to us in the past, they are still doing the same thing now.
Yes.
Wherever you're coming from, they have all these rights for animal. They call it animal rights, animal rights.
Yes.
But when you kill a black person, you become a celebrity. Nobody cares about us. All these things that they are doing to us as is president from the past. So that is why it is good for you to come to your roots so that you know your story. You know where you're coming from. So that when these things happen to you, you know how to overcome it. Now, I would say you guys ought to forgive me, because the thing that I come to say is something that some of you will not forgive me when I start. But when I end, all of you, I'm sure will forgive me. There's this group at the US of A that I love so much in my own way. And this group are the white supremacists.
I agree.
Yes.
Yes.
I love this group. Do you know why? Because Africans have stood so low for people to know our destiny than ourselves. Our destiny is for ourselves. It's not for them. So why would you allow them to know your destiny? Why you yourself as African, you don't know your destiny?
Yes.
Africans we see ourselves as God, and we always say we are born to occupy all the land that God gives us. So everywhere we go as Africans, we are seen as a threat, because that land that you see us there, we are about to occupy that land.
Yes.
They are seeing your destiny as Africans.
Yes.
Things that we should see as Africans, we are not seeing, and they are seeing it. So rather, you see, if I'm a white person and I date you and we give birth, your baby is not going to look like me, it will look like you. Because we are the dominant species. So as long as it is, they know. So they are trying to do everything to bring us to their level and defeat us. And we are also going to that same level for them to defeat us. No, we should tell them that we are way far beyond that. We are above that. We are too, I don't know, we are above what they are thinking. Because you see, during that era, we have Africans who can just look at the sky and predict that it's going to rain at exactly 2 o'clock, and it will rain. We have people who couldn't give birth to anybody, but is the mother of everybody. We have special people in our midst, because we see ourselves as gods. So Africans, wherever you are, never ever feel yourself inferior, because you are not. You never. Because the more they try to damp our spirits, the more we always come out stronger as Africans. But I always plead that the one thing that can make we Africans stand is for us to be united.
Yes.
Because even those people are united. That is why they are always leading the race. But imagine if all Africans that we call ourselves
Unstoppable.
yes. So sometimes just imagine we will be unstoppable. So please, as you've come to your ancestral roots, you are ambassador to whatever is about to happen in Africans' life.
Yes.
Try to motivate one another. Try to come together as one. Because when we are together as one, in the tree language we always say it's a tree proverb, which means when you take one stick out of a bunch of broom, you only break it, it breaks. But when you put all the broom together and you break it, it doesn't break. So Africans, when we come together like that, no matter how much they break us, we will never break as Africans. Ancestors are always here to bless us, because it's been a while since they set their eyes on you. You have many things that they have many things and kept for you, and it's only yours, and it's up to you to take your possession. But now, our ancestors, who are our ancestors? Somebody may ask, who are our ancestors? They are Kofi Kwame, they are Kojo, they are Sojourner Truth, they are Martin Luther King, they are Malcolm X, they are James Padmore, they are Arab Tugma. All these people are our ancestors. So today, as we come together in the spirit to have this connection with our ancestors, this is when I'm going to give you about 2 minutes of your time for you to strictly meditate and ask them for whatever you feel like asking them. Just meditate on it and just tell them medase. Thank them for thank them for all that they've done for us as Africans in our lives for 2 minutes. And after the 2 minutes, we'll be going down to the river. We are going to meditate by putting our hands. So I think meditation should rather be downwards. You go to the river, you dip your hand in the river, you just pour your heart out to your ancestors. Then after that, I'm going to give each one of you here a gift. Yes, which is very, very special gift. And I'm going to give each one of you here a gift. So if you wouldn't mind, can we please go downwards so that we will perform the rituals down there.
It's smoking. That bamboo over there was smoking.
It's welcoming us back.
To cook the other thing. Hey, I'm confused.
Well, you don't have to be.
What about that?
Confusion is a decision. And if you're confused,
Okay, so please. How much we appreciate all their efforts, their motivations, and their encouragement. We thank them. Because Africans, because we don't thank our ancestors, that is why sometimes we have all these issues coming to us. But today is the time that we are about to have this encounter with our ancestors. And thank them for what they have done in our life.
You want me to drink and snap me?
Abo,
Amen.
please come this way. We have the last ritual before we go back to where we're coming from. I think the men have to support the ladies. Come on.
No, you don't touch it. You don't touch it, I don't think. You don't touch it.
This is the wall that many people who's come from over across the globe who returned home, that you can sign your name.
Sabah